Happy Saturday, everyone. Oh, wow, that was loud. Happy Saturday again to everyone. Thank you so much for coming out and spending your Saturday with us. I want you to know this is just like being at home. We're just having a conversation. It's a gathering. You know, we have food, we have friends, and we are serving tea today, and it is all about voting. After we did a book study as a group, so for Lent, we gave up racism. And so we read the book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. And so after the book, we were like, what do? We got to do something. And so we decided we are going to do something regarding voting. It plays such a part of every aspect of our lives. We're like, we're not informed, let's get informed. But also, let's open it up to our community. Because that's what life is about. It's about community. It's about being informed together so we make decisions that impact each and every one of us in a positive way. So I have two groups, two entities that are coming together that know all about voting, because we need partnership. And that's where we have our amazing Miss Karen Castor from the Supervisor of Election. She is our supervisor and such an amazing woman. I'll give you more tea about her in a minute. And we have with us Miss Jean and Miss Winnie from the League of Women Voters, and what an amazing organization. I'm gonna just tell a little bit about. I went to one of their hot topics. I was so informed. Like, you have this organization that is dedicated not to just voting, but to gun safety. I mean, you have to check out their website, go to the hot topics. They had the circuit judge, they were doing their candidacy. So I invite everyone. I think the next hot topic is gonna be about the amendment that is coming up, so I'm looking forward to that. But they have tables that are in our fellowship hall. Come eat, learn more information, and get you some swag. I'm sorry, Seminole County is here too. Yes. Yes. We did not. Thank you for that. Yes. Ms. Mary has swag. And that's what I learned about the league was that you're throughout the United States. You cannot go anywhere and not find this organization. And to be an organization that helps, that you have men and women, it's not just for women, it's men and women, but they have dedicated their lives to this. And it's all about helping others. So thank you for that. I'm going to introduce our first speaker. We're not going to hold you long. We appreciate your Saturday, but we're not going to keep you all Saturday. Our first speaker is the Supervisor of Election, Karen Castor. I'm going to tell you how I know her. She was my niece and nephew teacher. And did they love her? Domrick Elementary, I'll never forget. Miss Dental was the star of the show. But it just reminded me what a public servant she is. If you can handle the children in the classroom and they love you every day and you do it for 25 years, I look back and see no wonder that the steps that were ordered for her were in changing people's lives, and that's through the legislative. So as we know, as a teacher, legislator, and school board member, and now we have her as our Supervisor of Election. If you ever get ready to run, let me know. I'm here. You could be our governor. I'm for whatever you want to bring. President, I'm for it all. But I want to say, I reached out to her team, and man, did they respond. They showed up, they followed up with me, and I was like, how awesome is that? You have an event, and they don't just send the outreach team, no, they bring the Supervisor of Election to us. So thank you for your team for coordinating this, and I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Okay, good morning. And I wanted to give a shout out to my team. I have Project Administrator Marianne Hutchison, who helps me greatly. And then Robin, we have you, and Miss Sheila in the back. They were part of our ambassador team, so they brought information and swag, and you'll see that set up in the fellowship hall as well. And this church does hold a special place for me. My mother-in-law is a member, and father-in-law, Betty and Bob Kimbrell. And this is where my children were baptized, and I know that Megan and David Collins have been very important in our lives as well. Thank you all for letting us use the facility today as well. And Michelle, thank you for that introduction. I was a teacher for 15 years. The Domerick Elementary was at one of the schools, and I taught there alongside Marianne Hutchison and Angie Gardner, who the three of us were there. We all have our own paths in public service, and here we all are still today, the three amigos. But so today I'm going to talk to you about what we do at our supervisor's office and how we keep the process safe and secure. There's been a lot of, not accusations, assertions made that our elections are not safe, but I'm here to tell you we have so many procedures in place to make sure that your vote counts, and every eligible voter who wants to cast a vote, their votes count. So we'll start with our mission. We start every day like this. Thank you. We started all of our meetings at my office reminding one another about what our mission is. And we uphold fair and secure elections, and we work to make sure that the public trusts what we do, and we encourage active participation in democracy. So every role that people play in my office touches on all of that. And I'm going to explain some of the safety and security procedures that we have kind of built in to all of our processes. So the first thing that where we start our process is making sure everyone is registered to vote. Raise your hand if you're registered to vote. I assume everyone in this room is registered. Thank you. So then we go to the next slide and we ask, okay, then make sure that your information is up to date. That is one of the most important things you can do to help us with our voter rolls. People move so often in Orange County, and it's hard to keep up with all of them. And if you do move, it's important that you update your voter record right away. We send out mail, and we don't want it to be not delivered to you. And your voter registration is tied to where you live. If you want to change a party, or if you change your name, or your signature, please let us help you. You can do that with a form. You can call our office sometimes and just let us know your changes, and we can help update. And then when it comes to our voter rolls overall, some people wonder, how do we make sure that the people who are on there are actual voters? Well, we cross-reference what we have with lots of other government agencies. So we look at the DMV. We share files or data with the Department of Motor Vehicles. We also check with the Clerk of Courts. They send us regularly lists of people who have become felons, and we check to make sure that they're not on our voter rolls, because that's one of the penalties. The Department of Vital Statistics, they send us people who have died so that we take their names off, and they send those regularly as well. So we are in a constant list maintenance process. And then we also send out mail. We send out address confirmation mailers to every one of our voters. And in Orange County, we have 800,000 voters. So that's a lot of mail. But what we do is we want to make sure that your address that we have on file matches. And we have, with the post office, then if you're not there, we're supposed to, they'll return it as undeliverable. And if we get that, that means that we start a whole other process. We then reach out to you again and find out, do you really live here? We'll try to communicate and update those records. A lot of people just move and don't let us know. And they stay on the rolls until we do this process. And this is something that also all the other supervisors do in Seminole County as well. So this is a state issue or a state process. It also helps if you know when elections are. So we're in the middle of midterm elections, and as you know, there's a primary. I assume that people keep up with election dates as much as I do, but that's kind of, I realized, I was talking to my son's girlfriend the other day, and I said, "Are you all ready for the election?" She's 25. She said, "What election?" I'm like, how can you be a part of our family if you don't know that? So I know it's actually pretty common that people still don't know there's an election happening. Primary elections, off-year elections, or midterm elections don't always get the same amount of attention. So it's important that you all help spread the word. So in Orange County, we have early voting that starts on Monday. Seminole County, you'll have it for 8 days. In Orange County, we have it for 14 days. For the state requires every county to have it for at least 8 days. Orange County adds, you can go up to 14 days. So we go ahead and we pay for the maximum amount. Every county does it differently based on their population and their needs. And the last day to request a vote by mail ballot is coming up. It's Thursday. So if you want to vote by mail and you have not requested your mail ballot since the last time you voted by mail, you need to make sure that you get that in. The laws have changed. It used to be good for 4 years, that request. Now it's only for 2. So after every 2-year cycle, you need to request your vote by mail ballot again. And then I'm also going to share some of the things that are on the ballot. So not only do you need to know the dates, but you need to know what races are on the ballot. So midterm elections are just as important as presidential elections. We have the governor's race. Who's in charge of our state? We're going to have the opportunity for a new governor. Well, it will be a new governor. Which governor we choose will determine, one will go one way, one will go a whole other direction. It will be a very consequential election. But we also have the cabinet is on the ballot. The CFO, Commissioner of Agriculture, the Attorney General. A lot of those names you may not be familiar with, so you'll need to do some of that research, and I'm going to let the League of Women Voters talk about that when they get up here. But you also have judges, you have school board members, you have county commission, and in Orange County we have the mayor, Orange County mayor's race. So those are nonpartisan, the judge, school board, and county commission, and county mayor. So that means that anybody in Orange County will be able to vote for them. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or no party, they will be on your ballot. And then the partisan races I have on the slides in blue, so we also have some legislative and congressional races that are going to be on the ballot. And then in November, you will have the amendments. There are 3 amendments right now, and then a 4th question is for a school millage. And that is when people spend more time on the ballot when they get into the voting booth, and they're like, oh wait, there's amendments. Let me read them now. That's what creates so many long lines. So I'm really pushing for you all to know how you're going to vote on those amendments ahead of time. And again, the league can help you figure out which way that you want to vote for those, but know that ahead of time. You can't, even if you read it while you're voting, you still won't fully understand all of the ramifications of those votes. Okay, so we have 3 ways to vote. Who knows which way? What are some ways to vote? Vote by mail. Early. In person on election day. So great, you can vote by mail, you can vote early in person, and you can vote on election day in person. So the first way, my favorite way to vote, is early voting. So in Orange County, well, in any county, when you early vote, you don't have to stick to just your home precinct. You can go to any early voting site anywhere in the county during that early voting. And in Orange County, we have added 7 more sites this election, and hopefully that will reduce lines. I know it can be difficult for people who go and vote, and you drive up and you see a line that goes all the way to the parking lot. You're like, I think I'll come back another time. You come back, there's still a line. So that's a form of, I don't know, voter suppression in a way, whether it's intentional or not. So we're trying to do what we can to lessen those lines by expanding more options. And then, of course, you just need to bring your photo ID and signature ID. Some states, you don't need to have that. In Florida, we do. And so we're expanding access. We still have the Winter Park Library as one of our early voting sites. And we still also have the Eatonville site at Town Hall. And we expanded. We have one out in Bithlo, where we didn't have any other sites for people who live out in the east. And then in the west, we have, oh, shucks. Well, we have a whole bunch. I can't read that little writing. But we have one out in Pine Hills at the Northwest Center, Community Center, and that's an area early voting site. All right, so what do we do to make voting secure? Well, one of the things that we do is we have poll workers from different parties at every polling site. So there isn't just all Democrats or all Republicans. We make sure that there are some people who are Democrats or non-party or Republican, and there's a mix at every polling site. All the equipment that we use when we go to vote, all the tabulators, we test them ahead of time. We test every single piece of machinery to make sure that they're working accurately, they tabulate accurately before we deploy them. All of the systems that we use, everyone in the state, we use state-certified systems. So the state has also indicated that it has a stamp of approval, that they actually work the way they are intended. And in Florida, we only use paper ballots, so there is a paper trail. And then we also have uniformed law enforcement officers who help to escort ballots back to our office, and then when they reach there, we keep them under lock and key. We keep them in a vault. We have very strict chain of custody procedures, so we track those ballots the whole process. And then the next way that someone mentioned is voting by mail. This is my favorite way. Again, you sign up every 2 years. You can sign up for ballot tracks. Does anyone use that? Ballot tracks? Awesome. So if you sign up and you request your vote by mail ballot, on that same page, you can request to track your ballot and where it is in the process. So when it is mailed to you, you get either a text or an email letting you know. And then when you fill it out and you turn it back in, you get a text or an email letting you know that it has been received and then accepted. So it's a great way to see what the process is. And you can take that mail ballot and turn it in at any of the 27 early voting sites. There's a drop box, it's secure, there's always someone there attending it, and it's locked as well and sealed. So you can just put it in that box and know that that will get back to our office that night. And vote by mail has been under attack lately. Some people say it's full of fraud. It's not. It's really difficult to order a ballot and for us not to be able to track it. But it is an important, very important method of voting for people who are disabled, our elderly populations, people who work long hours, and people who just want to vote from home. I know that there was a woman that I met on the campaign trail a couple of years ago who is a grandmother, and she said that she kind of made herself in charge of all of the grandkids and making sure that they all voted. So she had them, they're all in different places, off in different places or in college, and she told them that they had to take a picture of their ballot and mailing it off, and only then would she invite them to Thanksgiving dinner. So if you have grandkids or kids, you can be that point person for your family. You can make sure that people in your community are voting as well. It's a great time when you have those ballots in front of you. You can sit down at the dinner table and discuss it. That's what I do with my kids. We discuss it then and there. It comes up with we're able to discuss what our values are, why we like certain candidates, and it also helps show them how you research a candidate. And my kids are 25 and 22, and I would hope that they kind of know this process, living with me, but they still need a helping hand. So don't assume that your kids and grandkids are familiar with the process. Give them a hand. And then also, elections happen during hurricane season. You never know what's going to happen. Someone in your household could get sick, and you're not able to get to the voting booth. So it's great to have that vote by mail just in your back pocket if you need it. You do not have to turn it in. If you order a vote by mail ballot and you decide, wait, there's a group of gals, we're going to go vote together, early voting. What am I going to do? I've got my vote by mail ballot. You can leave it at home, you can go vote, and you can sign your name saying, I'm going to vote in person. You can bring your vote by mail ballot and turn it in and say, I'm giving it back to you. We're only going to count one vote. So if you go and vote in person, but you still have your ballot at home, you're like, oh wait, did I vote? Or maybe someone else is being extra helpful and they put it in the mail. You're like, wait a minute, I already voted. We're only going to count the first one. So it's updated in our system right away. And then we match the signature. So make sure that your signatures that you sign on the back of your vote by mail ballot match usually what's on your driver's license. We have a record of that. We have pictures of all your signatures from the tag agency, every time you've signed in to a voting in person, and we compare all those signatures with what is returned. And then my other favorite way to vote is on Election Day. And of course, our polls are open from 7 to 7, and you probably already know that if you are there at 7 o'clock and there's a line, you still get to vote. As long as you are in line by 7 p.m. on Election Day, you get to go ahead and vote, and then they'll close after that. You still need your photo and signature ID, and that's also when lines tend to be longer. We had an Apopka election this year, and we had, was it early voting? Maybe in the last day of early voting, I think it was, all of a sudden at 6:30 p.m., everyone came after work to go vote. And they're like, we don't have enough polling places. We don't have enough people here. The lines get longer as you wait. So I always recommend people vote early. Vote early in the day, vote early in the week. You can get your vote by mail ballots in before even voting starts. I've already returned mine. When you go vote on Election Day, though, that is kind of like the ultimate civic pride moment. You get to see your neighbors. You get to check in with people. It's usually the same people who work the polls. You get to say, hey, how you doing, Fred? Good to see you again. You get to wear that sticker all day. You also get a sticker when you vote by mail. We give you a vote by mail sticker, but I don't see a lot of people wearing those. But on Election Day, you know, it's like you should be proud of doing your civic duty. And on Election Day, how do we keep the vote safe? None of our election equipment is hooked up to the internet. So no one is beaming in, no one's hacking the system. They're not connected to the internet, ever. We have ballot escorts. Law enforcement comes and they follow the equipment, the trucks, as they bring them back to our office. They're kept in locked vaults again, and there's a lot of security procedures. We also have, at the end of the night on Election Day, whatever the results are from that location, we print them out and we post them on the door. So I remember there was one night when I needed to know what the election results were, and they weren't posting them yet at the office. So I just went around and I was looking at all the different ones. I'm like, let's go to this other church, let's go to this other place. And I was able to kind of get an idea of how I was going to do. So there's lots of safeguards, there's lots of redundancies in the process. And lots of chain of custody documented. Anytime someone has access to a ballot, they have a name written down, they have seals with numbers and locks, and there's always 2 people. And it's really hard to manipulate. We have so many procedures, and that's the same in any county in the state of Florida. We kind of say that we have the platinum standard across the country, and I think it's a result of the 2000 race. They don't want to ever get embarrassed again, and so they have strived to really make it ultra secure. So what we also do to provide this trust in our office is we provide a lot of things to the public. So there's a lot of public access. When we test our machines, we invite the public to come see it. And the people who do come, we're like, hey, would you like to participate? Would you like to actually see it? Would you like to feed the machines and count? And we involve the public in it. And a lot of those people who come are skeptics, and we welcome skeptics. And we really want to make sure that our system is beyond reproach. We also have cameras in all of our ballot tabulating rooms. And you can live stream, you can go onto our website, and you can see it happening in action. So we have a lot of, again, transparency, redundancies, ways for the public to see what we're doing. It's important to have that trust. And then I mentioned the other supervisors of elections. There are 67 counties, right, in Florida, and about 60 of them are led by Republican supervisors. The other 7 or so are Democrats. But you wouldn't know the difference. When we go to conferences, we are all on the same page. Politics and partisanship does not even enter into the discussion. Everyone there that I see really is looking out for the voters and the integrity of the process. It's really refreshing. So we want to be your trusted source of information. The biggest threat that we have found to our system is misinformation. And when people say, well, China and Russia and Iran, they're attacking our system, they are, through misinformation. It is deliberate, and sometimes they will plant a story somewhere that gets picked up later, and sometimes there will be AI voice robocalls or something to mislead voters. And that does happen. And if there is one way for a country to want to destabilize another country, they attack their election system and the trust that people have in it. So we're going overboard, and we are partnering. We are the biggest bipartisan, nonpartisan group. We share information. We're trying to really push this information out from our office as official. When you see information online or you hear it, it's important that you verify where it came from. And if you have a question, you can call my office. You can look at our website. You can look at other information that we have put out, because we'll be able to give you accurate information. If there is a polling place that closes at the last minute that you hear about, call our office and we'll let you know if that's true. Also, we'll be pushing out information on the news channels, on like your TV news, letting you know if that is happening. We do have a new website. We welcome everyone to come explore it. There's so much information on there. It should be easy to use. We have a lot of social media where we're trying to push that out and really appeal to our younger voters. We advertise in newspapers. We're going to have billboards up, just getting people to remember that there is an election. And we're going to send out soon a new newsletter from our office, an email newsletter that gives you lots of information. So I just want to make sure that you all know the layers of security that we have. We do a lot in our office to keep your voting data safe. We have multiple layers of cybersecurity as well, and we require all of our employees to pass various cyber security trainings, and we review the files and the data all the time. In fact, we just had an audit yesterday of our whole cyber system, and we have one of the highest level of certification of cybersecurity in the state. So, yay. We do everything we can to make sure that it's safe and secure and easy for people. So I know you probably have questions. I just want to make sure that you make a plan to vote. Don't just say, yeah, I'm going to vote, but think about how you're going to. If you need to request a vote by mail ballot, we use QR codes. I know that not everybody even knows how to use QR codes still. We can give you a lesson later if you need it. But these are the questions that I want you to ask yourself when you decide which way you're going to vote. I have voted by mail. I have voted on election day, and I have voted early. I love them all. But it depends on what's going on in my life at the time and how easy it is for me to pivot. And so these are the questions on the next slide I want you to kind of ask yourself to make sure you know what your plan will be. It should be specific. So if you're going to vote by mail, do you have a request on file? You can look it up. We also sent you mail. We sent all 800,000 voters information if you had a request on mail, on file. Are you signed up for ballot tracks? You can do that easily. And will you use a Dropbox, or do you plan to mail it back? And our postage is paid in Orange County, so that you don't even need a stamp. And then if you do vote by mail, don't wait till the last week to mail it back, because it can take a while in the postal system. So plan ahead for when you're going to return it. If you're going to vote early, look at all the sites. Which site is closest to your house? How are you going to get there? Are you going to take anyone with you? Invite other people to go vote with you. And then election day, make sure nothing else is going to get in your way. Make sure that there's no thunderstorm coming that's going to stop you. And again, make sure you know how you're going to get there. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I went over a lot of information, and I know a lot of the stuff many of you already know, but if there is a question that any of you have, I'm at your beck and call. Yes, Jean.
So can I vote at any polling location?
You cannot. You have to vote at Winter Park. No. No, everybody, any voter in Orange County can vote at any Orange County early voting site. And we're going to have big flag banners up. It starts on Monday, but you'll see the places because we'll have these big flying banners in front of them so that people can easily identify where they are. So if you drive by one day, you're like, whoa, I didn't know that was an early voting site. On your way back, you can go early vote. Yes, Gina.
I just want everybody to know, even though we have a closed primary in Florida, that there's something on the ballot for all voters.
That's true. So Florida is a closed primary state. Some states have it where it doesn't matter what party people are in, anyone can vote. But in Florida, if you're a Democrat, in the primary, you only vote for the Democrats. If you're a Republican, you only vote for Republicans in the primary. And then people who don't have either party cannot necessarily vote for a Democrat or Republican, but we have so many nonpartisan seats that will appear on everyone's ballot. So most of our local elections are nonpartisan. So really research what the candidates' plans are. Yes, Michelle.
So let's say I do my early voting, I turn in my ballot, and I realize, hey, I forgot. I may need to change my vote. Can you ever change your vote during early voting?
No. So if you have already voted,
I turned in my ballot.
you turned it in, you're done. If you mess up, let's say you are at the polls and you're filling out your ballot and you're like, oh, I didn't mean to vote for that person. Shoot. That's going to ruin my whole ballot. Wait a minute. You can go turn it in and get a new one. And you can do that twice. And then after that, you don't get any more. So, and if you mess up and you have a vote by mail ballot at home and you mess that up, you can vote early, you can go on election day, or you can call our office to send you a new one. And we're only going to count one. So whichever one you turn in is the only one we're going to count. Yes?
Keep reading about interference with the post office itself and mail-in ballots. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. Do you have any comments about that?
So what you're talking about is there is an executive order by the president to control the post office in their mailing of vote-by-mail ballots to voters. And right now, that executive order is being litigated in the courts. However, I'm not sure how that would work if they did do that, but they're asking, what the executive order is asking supervisors to do is to give a list of all the people who have requested their vote-by-mail ballot to the post office, which is a federal agency, in order to have them delivered. So some other states are like, no, we don't need to give our sensitive information to the federal government. We're not sure what you're going to do with it. So that's where some of the states are suing. Florida is not suing. In fact, Florida has signed on to counter that lawsuit. So right now, nothing has changed. If there is a change, that will be an issue that we communicate to the voters and let everyone know. If you do not want to vote by mail because you don't want your data being used that way, we'll let you know. You can vote in person. It's a concern. Yes, yes.
I think the other thing that's happening with the post office is they are beginning to regionalize their collection centers so that the date of postmark may not be the date that it was actually put in the mailbox.
Right.
So give time. Don't trust that that date is going to be the date you put it in the box.
Right. So I've seen mail that people have put in the mail here that gets postmarked in Jacksonville and comes back. So they are redoing their processes. Some states only require you to have a postmark of Election Day, and then when it is finally received, they count it. In Florida, it doesn't matter when your postmark is. It has to be received on Election Day by 7 o'clock. If you find your vote-by-mail ballot at home, you can bring it to our office downtown on Cayley Street on Election Day. But that's the only place where we'll accept those. But yes, the mail is tricky. That's why I say at least 5-6 days before you expect that ballot to come in. Other questions? Yes? That's a really good question. So the Florida law, and most of what we do is all determined or outlined by statute, all of our procedures, and that is also regulated. So any person can drop off any number of vote-by-mail ballots from their family members, their immediate family members, plus 2. So if you have 2 friends, you can drop them off too. Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is something we encountered with the new driver's licenses.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had conflicting views on how to deal with it, or if it's still an issue. The DMV sends out something saying, someone like me, you need to come in and get a new driver's license.
Right.
And I did. And I saw that my number that I have registered to vote by mail with has changed.
Right.
And I'm wondering if that's been an issue for you, and has it been resolved, and your DMV is working great with you,
Right. It is, it's a problem because the two agencies don't always share nicely. They have changed the law, but that goes into effect in January, where it mandates that the Department of Motor Vehicles shares those new numbers with us. But that's in January. And we'll see if it gets really started then. But until then, the state is updating driver's license numbers because of potential for fraud with those numbers, because it has some of your personal information in there. It has the year you're born embedded in your number. So they are updating all the driver's license numbers. And they've been doing that for a couple years now. And like you said, your number, your driver's license number, is associated with your voter registration. So it doesn't have any effect when you go in person and bring your ID. It doesn't matter what your number is. We don't look at your number. But for vote by mail, that's where a snag might happen, because when you request your vote by mail ballot, we want to know your driver's license number. And if it doesn't match what we have on record, then we can't fulfill that request. So you can update it online on our website. You can go into your record and update it. Or you can call my office and say, I would like to request a vote by mail ballot. And only then are we able to go into the DMV database and retrieve it. If you call my office and say, we want to give you, or we want to update our new driver's license number, we can't necessarily do that. The law is written strangely. But if you say, I want to request my vote by mail ballot on the phone, we can retrieve it and make it happen. You can fill out a new form with a new number. Yes. It doesn't always make sense, and it makes it difficult for people, but we work to try to write Tallahassee. I was in the legislature for one term too many. So I'm happy to answer questions, because there are so many different questions that are possible. Everybody has a unique situation. And you can also call my office at any time, and people will answer. And Marianne, she has learned so much about elections in the last year and a half. But I am here if you need us, and thank you for listening. Question? If you want to be a poll worker, we are full. All of our poll workers are full for this election. But that's because because we have a program called Adopt a Precinct, where different community organizations and groups like the League of Women Voters, they recruit their own volunteers and then go and work the poll together, a site, and whatever money that they would have gotten paid, the stipend, they contribute to their organization. And so that recruitment vehicle really helps us fill all those roles. And it helps those organizations. I know the League has raised a lot of money doing that. They have more than one polling place that they work. So it's great. Yes, all right. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I have learned so much today. So in my office, we were talking about voting, and a coworker was like, I'm not sure about mail-in ballot. And now I could tell her you could track it. So I think I'm going to see if we could get us a little game going in the office. Let's track our ballot. Let's see who gets there first. Well, I would like to introduce our next speakers up here, and they are going to give us all the resources, the info we need to make those good decisions. Miss Winnie and Miss Jean. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm always bad with the microphone, so hopefully this is working and you can hear me okay. So it is really just wonderful to be here this morning. I can't tell you how much I enjoy talking about voting and how important it is. Ever since I was a kid, For whatever reason, I don't know what it says about me, I've just been obsessed with the concept of being a participant in our democracy with voting. But really glad to be here. I am Winnie Hogue. Gina Yglesias is here with me. We also have Melinda Wright and Gina Hall from the League from Orange County. I know Seminole County is here, and I'm so sorry, I do not recall your first name. Mary Ann is here. So we have representatives from the Seminole County League of Women Voters, as well as the Orange County. And we're here today to talk really about voting broadly and just why it matters and how important it is for everybody. So we're going to go to our next slide. This is the first time I've been one of those people saying next slide, so it'll be awkward, I promise you. So I am, as I said, we're here from the League of Women Voters. We are a nonpartisan organization, but we are political. So that just means we do not endorse political candidates. We're not going to endorse a particular candidate for a particular position, but we do take political positions. We really take a position about gun rights, about women's rights, about immigration issues. We do take positions, but not political ones, or not partisan ones. We were established in 1920, and despite the name, we do allow men to join us. That started in 1972, and they're really an important part of our organization, and we're glad that they're with us and working hard along with us. The overall goal of the League of Women Voters is to educate and advocate. That is our core, is to make sure that people know what's on their ballot, understand how they can learn what's the best decision for you, right? We're not telling anybody how to vote. We just want to make sure you know what's on the ballot, you are educated about these issues, and you're making the decision that best represents your interests. All right, our next slide. So today we're going to talk about the importance of voting, what's on the ballot, and I know Karen just talked a little bit about it. We're going to go a little bit more broadly into, or narrowly into that, so you'll hear more, and how to get informed. Really, again, back to our core purpose of educating. We want to make sure you have the information that you need to make the decisions about how you want to vote on the ballot. We also have, but I don't know that we'll reach it because Karen talked about it extensively and beautifully, is how to vote, the 3 ways to vote. So we probably will not reach that because of it. So at the end of the day, we wanted to help you all realize that your everyday life is impacted every day by the decisions made by elected officials at the local level, at the state level, and the federal level. Every right that you have is affected by those decisions, your wallet, your community, because your vote ultimately decides who's going to write the laws, who's going to enforce them, who's going to interpret them, and how your money that you're paying into the taxes is being spent, right? So this is every day of your life is being impacted by decisions by people who are elected. So that means who you elect can impact those decisions, right? Your ability to control that through your vote can have a real impact. So we really want you to understand that voting matters for those very reasons. All right, our next slide. So we're going to talk about local issues, state issues, and federal issues, because it's important to realize, although there's a lot of excitement about maybe this election, you'll hear a lot of people say this is the most significant election coming up, this one matters. Well, you know what? The League agrees with that, but we think that every time there's an election. It's not just this one. Every election, we feel like this is the most important one. Why? Because it's our democracy, right? So it is important. But on the local issues, the local elected officials, we have those listed there, the mayors, the commissioners, school board members, and we have the school board chairs up for election this cycle, judges, the clerk of courts, the comptroller. You can see what issues those elected positions are deciding. Zoning and land development. I know there's a lot of discussion of what our land is going to look like here in Orange County. Police and fire, rescue, transportation, parks, libraries. These are things day to day that impact, you know, do your kids get to go to the park today? You know, is the park clean? Are there people working there? Are there services being provided? Schools, right? And how the schools are being funded. So the local issues, a lot of times we focus and think mostly about the federal elections, like the president, the big ones, the Senate, all of those. But these local races really impact your day-to-day life in ways that sometimes we don't really think about. All right, we'll go to our next slide. But it's not just local, it's state. We have the House of Representatives. I think every member of the Florida House is up for re-election this cycle. State senators, some of them, as Karen said, the governor, who's going to be leading the state at the very highest level, is being decided this election cycle. Attorney General, the Chief Financial Officer, and judges. So those elected positions decide voting access, right? So that goes to the core of what we believe and what we think matters. Those elected positions decide it. So you want to make sure that the people being elected into those positions share your view, right? That's really what matters, is you're being able to put that voice out there. But public health, healthcare, social services, reproductive rights, the air and water quality, public lands. I know data centers is really kind of a hot topic right now. Those decisions are going to probably be made at the state level also. So you want to make sure that the people you're electing into those offices are holding the same opinions and values that you do, or at least get a shot at it through your vote. All right, our next slide. In the federal issues. Obviously, a lot going on there. Checks and balances with our 3 branches of government. Some people have had some questions about that, but it's important. Some people are happy with the way things are going. Some people feel like there needs to be a change. Your vote is the way you communicate that, right? That is your superpower. That's your ability, and your vote is the same equality as someone else's vote, right? We all are equal when it comes to the vote. Everybody gets the same opportunity. But importantly, members of the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate here in Florida, we have a Senate seat that's open, right? Marco Rubio was appointed Secretary of State, so Ashley Moody was appointed to the balance of his seat, or his term, and so now she's up for re-election, right? So there's a Senate seat here in Florida that's up. But those positions, and even though we're not voting for the president and the vice president this election, recognize the power of their decisions, right? The president appoints all federal judges, and I'm an attorney, so I always feel like I'd like to mention this point. If you're appointed to a federal judge, to the federal bench, you are appointed for life. That is not something that ends. That is a term that goes on. So if you have someone who appoints a federal judge, and that judge is 40, that judge is ruling for 40 years, easy, right? So important, the decisions that these elected officials make have a lot of influence on your life, even if it's not so directly. But the federal issues that they address, not only appointments to the cabinet and federal judges and Supreme Court justices, healthcare issues, Social Security, Medicaid, right, Medicare, civil rights, immigration, that's a huge issue right now, social justice, and ultimately, again, back to voting rights, right? It goes, these are the decisions those folks are making. All right, we'll go to our next slide. So we'd like to point out, maybe it's kind of obvious, but we point it out anyway, voting benefits the people who actually vote. Our next slide, we're going to show you some data from 2024. And it tells you, breaking it down by age groups, what percentage of that age group actually voted. And I think the thing that breaks my heart, if I can be honest, is the 18 to 24 range, right? Only 36.8% of people in that age group actually voted in 2024. And that's hard, right? Because the future is theirs, right? They need to be participating and helping make the future by their vote. And what's important for us as a league, and we're working on it, is trying to figure out how we can get young people more engaged, get them involved, get them realizing the power that they have with their vote. But as you see from this data, the people who vote increases, right, as you get older. And I guess it makes sense. You have a little more time on your hands when you're approaching retirement. The kids are grown. You don't have as much responsibility. And that's wonderful. We want participation at all age levels, of course. But what we want to sort of impress on folks is that the people who vote are the ones who the politicians are going to listen to, right? Because they know they're dependent on their participation, so they're going to listen to that. And that's wonderful for those age groups, but not so great for the other age groups, right? So that's why we really want to encourage all age groups to participate. And I always kind of tease when we go in the high schools and we try to get the high school students registered, whether it's through their classes or at the senior clearance. If someone kind of is dismissive of the concept, they don't need to register, I always say, ooh, look at my hair color. I vote every time. I just want you to know, like, there are people just like me, and our interests may not be the same. Of course, my interests, I can assure you, are their interests, because I have young kids, so I really am kind of wanting their future to be bright. But I want them to realize that someone else is voting, and their vote, the absence of their vote, is having an impact, I think. So, all right, our next slide. So what's on the ballot in Florida? As Karen really beautifully said, there's 2 elections coming up, 18th, which is the primary, and then we have our general on November 3rd. We're going to have the partisan races here in the primary, and that's all members of the U.S. Senate, and the 1 Senate seat here in Florida, as we mentioned. The state level, we have all members of the Florida House of Representatives, some state seats, the governor, attorney general, Chief Financial Officer, Agriculture and Consumer Services Commission. I mean, this is like the powerhouse. These are like the people making the big decisions. This is a big election, right? This matters. You've really got to get engaged. But also we have local, we have the county mayor for Orange County, the county commissioners, school board members, the school board chair is up for election this cycle, and there's just a number of judicial races. And importantly, as somebody asked the question, those are nonpartisan races, right? The Orange County mayor is nonpartisan, as well as all the judicial, the judge races. You do not have to be in a party. You can vote even if you're non-party affiliated. Since it is a closed primary state, if you are registered in a political party, you can only vote for a candidate in that political party at the primary level. So that is there, but everybody has something on their ballot. We have 3 state constitutional amendments proposed, as well as a special millage rate. And I'm not sure if, Jean, do you want to? Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Oh, yeah. So there's been a lot of talk about the congressional redistricting. On May 4th, Governor DeSantis signed a mid-decade congressional redistricting law, which allowed the federal districts for our U.S. House of Representatives to be redistricted. That did impact our precincts, and it impacted who might be representing you and what your boundaries look like. So we're encouraging you to look at the Supervisor of Elections website to get information on where your precinct, if it has changed as a result of that, but also to make sure you know where your district is for your Florida, or strike that, sorry, I'm going to my law work, strike that, your Federal House of Representatives district. All right, our next slide. There's also been redistricting in the county commissions. They added a county commission, so you're going to see the new map there. That is found on the Supervisor of Elections website, so we do a lot of funneling suggesting the Supervisor of Elections website, which is phenomenal and really gives you a great deal of information, but that's where you'll find the new county commission districts, and you can put in your address and it's going to tell you which district you fall in. And we'll go to the next slide. And then, again, at the core for the league is education. We want to make sure that you have information to make decisions about how you're going to vote. Again, we are not telling you who should vote for, but we want to make sure you have the information to make the decisions to know who you want to vote for. So there are some upcoming candidate forums for the Orange County Commission Districts 2, 4, 6, 7, and 8. And you'll see that information there. I did see somebody taking a picture of the slide, which is great because you take it with you and share it with people in different districts. But these are opportunities for you to see the candidates running for your commission seat, have an opportunity to hear what their positions are, and maybe even ask questions yourself if there's something that you feel important and you need to know to decide who you're going to vote for. So this forum, again, is a way for you to actually meet the people who want to represent you, and you can figure out if they've earned your vote or not. All right, our next slide. And we have an upcoming Hot Topics luncheon on the property tax amendment. It is August 12th. You have to sign up through the League of Women Voters for Orange County. Our website is on the slide there. If you need more information, we have tables that Gina and Melinda have in the back, in, I guess, the community room. So get information about that event. It's going to be a great opportunity to just learn about this proposed amendment. And I can tell you, and I give you this perspective because I think it's helpful, or I hope it is. As I said, I'm an attorney. I've been licensed for 31 years now. I read the constitutional amendments. They are not easy to understand. I read them multiple times, and I still am not confident. I know what the conclusion, what they're trying to accomplish, and what a yes vote or a no vote could mean. So I kind of tell you that to understand the language is very complicated. I believe it's, maybe intentionally uncomplicated. So we want to arm you with information about how you can get educated about what these things mean and just get more resources. So you're going to hear a couple of times from me, vote411.org. It is a website that the League puts on, or it's created, and it gives you an opportunity to find what's literally on your ballot based on your address. You put that in, it'll tell you what's on the ballot, and it'll tell you the candidates that are running for the positions on your ballot. I actually just pulled it up because I wanted to see, who the candidates were on a particular race, and then the League provides each of those candidates a series of questions, and the candidates provide their answers or don't provide their answers. It's all information, right? So you will literally see the answers the candidates provided to each question, and you can compare because they're all getting the same questions. And the League, importantly, copies what they provide us and paste it in. So if there's a spelling error, that is not the league's, that is the candidate's. And I'm not doing that to shade anybody, but just to let you know the authenticity of the information you're reading. But importantly, if someone chooses not to respond to any of the questions, which happens, that's information, right? What you do with that information is your decision to make, but it's information. So vote411.org is a tremendous resource. I've done several of these presentations in the last several weeks, and different organizations that are supporting those events have also all said vote411.org is a really helpful resource. Yeah. It's the number, 411, yeah. Oh yeah, we can change the slide, that might be coming up. Oh, we're gonna talk about the ballot measures. So Jean Yglesias, who's here with me from the league, she's gonna cover these in part because they're way too complicated for me, and I let Jean handle the hard stuff.
Hi, my name is Jean Yglesias, first, the amendments we want to clarify will not be on the August ballot. They are for the November ballot. But this is giving a brief overview of some important issues, so you have time to be thinking about them because the impact will be tremendous on the state. The league is actually working on a full presentation on the amendments. We are still working on them. There's also litigation on some of the amendments. So we're taking our time, but I am going to give you a brief overview of some notes I put together, so please forgive me for reading and not being able to look up at slides. All three amendments have come from the Florida legislature. They are not citizen initiatives. And in the state of Florida, the Supreme Court reviews citizen initiatives before they go to voters to ensure that the ballot summary is not confusing or deceptive and that the initiative covers only one subject. That is not the case when they come out of the Florida legislature. These initiatives, these amendments that are coming up, do not have a limit for word count. They do not have to be clear, or they do not go through judicial review. So I just want everyone to understand all three of these are coming from the Florida legislature. These are not things that the citizens have put forth as something as being needed. So the Amendment 1 initiative, I think it's on the screen, is Budget Stabilization Fund. It's also known for people to understand as a rainy day fund. And the states must put money in that every year. But determining a set percentage may prevent communities in the state from dealing with an emergency that is not covered. So that's just a basic thing to understand about Amendment 1. Amendment 2, it is estimated that the fiscal impact could be $31 million, reducing taxes to our local governments, which is quite extraordinary. The loss of revenue could equate colloquially as perhaps like a loss if you had a second job. Think of it in that term. All of these, as Winnie has said, who is an attorney, these amendments are not clear and do not necessarily go through review to make sure that they are not deceptive, either by what they are called or the language explaining them. So Amendment 3, a couple of things that I'd like to point out. I think he's changed, okay. 60% of people rent, and they would not benefit at all from Amendment number 3. Only homesteaded homes would benefit from this. So what happens to our local governments if this ends up passing and people vote for it? Because it does sound appealing. We're going to lower your taxes. So it has a general appeal to the public, but what we are hoping to do is to educate people to understand what are the consequences if this indeed passes. People also don't always associate that a reduction in their taxes means a loss of revenues for their communities. So we have to ask ourselves, what are they considering doing? Will they cut services? How do you replace lost income? Will it be a combination of both that our local governments decide to do? And how do you replace that lost income if they plan to cut those services? It could be cuts to police, to fire, how many they could hire. Will there be cuts to staffing? Perhaps they'll be unable to purchase equipment that's needed. They could be cuts to libraries, how often the parks are open, if they are clean. And another option is always, will they raise local sales tax to make up for that lost revenue? Also, localities that are heavily agricultural may want to include the anticipated revenue loss if Amendment 2 passes, which is related to agriculture. That would be losses in addition to the losses from Amendment 2. This is an interesting point that I was not aware of, that people may wonder, why aren't there local officials not speaking out about this if these revenue cuts will adversely impact the community? Florida law prohibits local officials from expressing an opinion about proposed amendments. However, that restriction does not apply to state officials, which is why they can make the argument supporting amendments 2 and 3, 1, 2, and 3. The other thing is, while these amendments are all introduced by the Florida legislature, it's important for us to understand that it's not the state government that will be impacted. It is our local government that will be impacted. So the local legislatures that we all vote for and our people who govern us know the needs and issues of our community. They will no longer be in control of the budget and decision making. Part of Amendment 3 is the loss of local and home rule, which would then be replaced by the state. So a governor or a state legislation can determine providing funds to us or withholding funds from us. Local property tax monies will no longer be in the hands of our local municipalities. It's important to note that there are no organizations supporting any of these amendments. And so our goal right now is to try to educate the public. And as I said, we are putting together a presentation that will go into more detail, but I feel like these are aspects that will be helpful when you're reviewing these amendments, how they come about and how best to try to understand them. Vote411.org will have what a yes vote and a no vote means. We do this anytime there are amendments. Vote411 will always put what a yes vote or a no vote, and hopefully that will help you. So as I said, we can always come back if we are asked to when we have a presentation on the amendments. I'm going to hand it back to Winnie. Thank you.
I actually had a question regarding the amendments. One of the arguments against Amendment 3 is a loss of revenue, and gee, maybe the state should make that up. Can the stabilization fund be used to help in that regard?
I do not know if the stabilization fund can be used for that, and that's one of the things that we will have more detail on. Can't hear you. The question is, would the stabilization fund be able to replace, if I understand that correctly? I don't know if that's going to be the case. So we will have more information for you, and hopefully that's a very good point. We can add that on hopefully Vote411 as a clarification, whether it can be used. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to the next slide. And one more. Oh, the special millage rate. That is up on this, that's in November. It has been, I think since 2010, it's been renewed every time. From what we understand, it is the district data shows one mill generated more than $242 million that benefits the Orange County Public Schools. Including academic programs, retaining teachers, arts and music programs, athletics, field trips. There's information again on vote411.org and the impact that special mill tax will have for the schools. And hopefully that'll give you some additional information and guidance on how you might be voting on that particular ballot measure. All right. So what's on the ballot? Again, the voteorangeflorida.gov, that's the new website for the Supervisor of Elections Office. We really think it's important that you're going to get so much information there, so we encourage you to get on there. Verify your registration is complete. If you need to update anything, as Karen said, you need your signature updated, your address updated, your driver's license or Florida ID number updated, that can all be accomplished on the website. You can also call. I know everybody I've ever interacted with at the Supervisor of Elections Office is eager to help you get what you need and make sure that your voting opportunity is as available as it can be, right? They want to make sure that information is updated. But it's also going to give you information if you know someone who needs to register to vote. It can get you to the website that you need to get to register to vote. You can do that online. You'll need two pieces of data. You need your either Florida ID number or your Florida driver's license number and your social security number. You can register. We're going to talk about the dates. It's too late to register to vote if you are not registered or you know someone who's not registered to vote for the primary, but there's still time for the general, so we're encouraging people to get out there and register if you are not currently registered to be able to vote in the general election. And again, get informed with vote411.org. Here's our website. It's going to give you just also a great deal of information about what's on your ballot, are you registered, confirming all that. But most importantly, we think it's certainly at this stage of the cycle, it's an opportunity to learn a lot of information about the candidates, the issues, just do your research. And that is why, as Jean said, there's so much going on in those proposed amendments. Take the time you need. And as Karen said, I think very wisely, make sure you're prepared as you walk in to vote, that you already know how you're going to vote because you've done your research and your homework ahead of time. You've figured out how you want to vote and you're ready to go. Bring in your sample ballot if you're voting in person and you just know exactly what you're doing. It's an easy process. All right. We could talk just a little bit, Karen mentioned this, and it's kind of valuable to realize there's a lot of false information out there and a lot of misinformation out there. Misinformation is just inaccurate information, but there's also disinformation, and that is instances where someone's intentionally trying to mislead you. So we're trying to make sure people are aware that unfortunately, you hear something, it doesn't mean it's accurate, it doesn't mean it's right. So you need to do some research. We're putting a lot of work on you all, but that is what a democracy requires. It's going to have to require involvement and effort. So we're going to skip ahead one more. And this is what I wanted you to see. This is a great set of resources. If you want to take a picture of it, it's a lot of websites that will be places you can verify information, right? So the Orlando Sentinel, Central Florida Public News, it's cfpublic.org, PolitiFact, FactCheck, Snopes. I've used Snopes a bunch of times. Snopes is really helpful because it's kind of, it does a lot of current updating. If more information's coming in, it tells you what it's done. And I do this myself because we all can get into our own rabbit holes, right? You get some idea and that really affirms how you feel about an issue. And this is great and I love reading this. And then I think, yeah, is this true though? So literally did this yesterday. I saw something and I thought, I don't know, that seems almost, it's the same way. It could be unfortunate news that I wish wasn't true, or really good news that if it's true, man, I'm feeling really good about how my positioning, and I looked it up and it was not true at all. But so you have to do that even when it's stuff you think is beneficial to your thought process, right? You still have to confirm it's accurate. These websites will give you a good source of information and check them all, right? Like really do your deep dive to make sure the information that you're relying on. And the reason it matters, the reason we really emphasize is because you may be making decisions about how you're going to vote based on information, right? So you want to know it's accurate because then the more accurate the information is that you're relying on, the more confident you are that the vote you're casting reflects your interests and your position. All right. At the end of the day, democracy is not passive, right? It requires everybody's engagement and involvement. We can't just sit back. So we encourage you to get involved. Canvass or a literature drop for somebody, a candidate that you might care about, or an issue that matters to you. Make sure your neighbors know about it. Help them understand your passion. Do phone or text banking. Know the people who represent you, right? Get an idea of what they stand for. Is it consistent with your positions? If it is, great, you want to support that. And if it isn't, then you want to figure out how you can maybe get another voice out there. Know the issues, and as Karen said, know there's an election coming up, right? And make sure your friends and your family know there's an election coming up. Make sure they're registered to vote. Make sure their voter registration is updated and accurate. Become a poll worker, maybe not this time, but maybe next one. And the one thing I want to mention, because the league, just a little bit of promotion. We have an event next Saturday. It's Unite and Rise. It is at one of the lowest performing precincts in the county. So we identified the precincts that maybe didn't have great voter turnout, and we have decided to sort of embrace that precinct on Saturday with a warm hug, if you want to say it that way. We're going to get out there. We have volunteers, and we would welcome any and all of you to join us. We're going to be walking through the neighborhood, doing literature drops to make sure people know an election is coming up, to make sure people understand that this is a moment to participate. There'll be phone banking. We're going to have sign waving. It's really, in this one precinct, we're really just trying to start getting people engaged and involved, because that's our goal, is involvement and engagement in voting. So if you're interested in that event, as I said, it's Unite and Rise. And importantly, it celebrates the 60th anniversary of the signing of the Voting Rights Act. So there is a historical concern that we're kind of emphasizing as well. So we'd love to have you all join us. All right, there's one more, I know we're going late, I don't want to take much more time. Vote411.org is really that huge resource. We're going to go one more. Oh, here's the election calendar. This is important. Karen mentioned it also. Deadline to register for the primary already passed, but you have till October 5th to register to vote for the general election. And if anybody wants this information, we'll have it at our tabling, so you'll be able to get that. Next slide. You can register and check your voter status at registertovoteflorida.gov. Great resource. I see a picture getting taken. We talked about the Florida driver's license issue. Karen covered that. Just update it. Make sure your information is correct with the voter supervisor elections office. And Karen's covered all this, so I'm going to go a couple more, because there's one more slide. There we go, this one. If anybody needs help getting ID, if anybody needs help getting to vote, if anybody needs help figuring out what ID you need, votewriters.org can help you. It's a wonderful organization. We did not talk about, because we're trying to avoid confusion, in 27 there'll be some changes to who can register to vote in the state of Florida. We will come back and chat with you if you welcome us to do so in 2027. But there may be a moment coming down the road where you need more documentation to establish that you are able to vote in the state of Florida, and this organization is going to help you. You can call them and talk with them. They'll help you figure out what documents you need. They'll help you figure out how to get those documents. They will pay for you to get those documents. They will pay for you to get to the meeting to get those documents. They will then help you get to vote if you need to. Their goal, and it's consistent, I think, with our goal, is to just remove barriers to make anybody who is legally able to vote in our country to get to vote in our country. And this organization is really helpful. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of Vote Writers, and you can check out their website. They can get more information about them. All right, I think I've gone well over my time. I appreciate you indulging that very much. Thank you for being here. It really means a lot to us.
Thank you. Oh, what an amazing event. This was so informative. There were so many things that I did not know, things that I could pass on. And this is what it's all about. I'm going to leave us with this quote. The right to vote is precious and almost sacred. It is the most powerful and nonviolent tool we have in democracy. Make sure your voice is heard and your vote is counted. And that's by John Lewis. And I think that we have learned something today, that we could do our own passive canvas by letting someone else know. This event has been live streamed. You can share it with your friends and family. They could go to YouTube, and our channel is Maitland Presbyterian. And I just want you to know, thank you for taking time again out of your day. And we have food in the fellowship hall, and we have a raffle. You got to have prizes. Yeah. So thank you. Our event is concluded. Thank you so much, guys. So I'm gonna keep going.